How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on QQQ. I took some calls, ended up being a winner a little over 20% or so. We'll get into that trade in just a second. You can see we're on the daily time frame here looking at QQQ. Last Friday set new all-time highs. Today was kind of a choppier day. It was an inside bar, so price remained within the range of the previous day. So was kind of expecting it. We didn't have any news. We have some GDP and stuff coming out this week, and so with no catalysts today, and with it being, a day where we're within yesterday's, or not yesterday, but last Friday's range, expected some choppy behavior. We did get some of that. So not a lot of opportunities, but happy with the trade that I did take. We can take a look at some of the stuff I was watching here. So nothing too crazy. These zones are essentially the same that we've been watching. We had the low from last Friday around 435.8. We had the high from last Friday around 440.5. We had a zone around 439, a zone around like 437.7 or so, from 0.5 to say 0.8. We had that pre-market high there right at the top of that zone, and then we had the pre-market low, or maybe the after hours low, around 435.3. We'll hop on over the 5-minute chart here. So right off the day, tried to push up and claim that pre-market high. Got, solid 60 cents or so above it, and then had a big rejection. I guess that should have been an indication here that we were going to reject again as we kept retesting and failing to close above that pre-market high on the 5-minute chart. I wasn't watching QQQ at this time. I was watching SPY. SPY also had a pretty clean rejection off the pre-market high. It was something that I was thinking about trading. I didn't. I hesitated, and then the move kind of happened without me. The move on QQQ, I will say, was nicer. On SPY, it moved like 60, 70 cents. On QQQ, you can see we got over $1. We got, almost like $1.50 move on QQQ. So that rejection from this zone to this zone, beautiful. The trade that I did take on QQQ was calls on this candle here, and I sold one in this area and one as we entered this zone here. So we'll take a look at the 1-minute chart. I'll explain where my stop loss was, why I entered this trade, and it's a bit more evident, I think, on the 1-minute. Before we switch over to that, though, I do want to say that on the 5-minute, one of the things that got me in this trade is look at the volume here and look at the reaction here as we came down into this area. It was a zone that I was watching, so a demand zone. I expected price to potentially bounce from here. Anytime we're above a zone, I expect that zone to act as demand, right? And anytime we're below a zone, I expect that zone to act as supply. So seeing price come down into this zone, seeing a large spike in volume, and that reaction where we went from a big red candle, switched back to green by the time we closed, told me that there were buyers present in that area. So as we came down and we started to re-enter this zone, and we can see these longer wicks on these previous candles as well as we start to approach it, but as we came down and entered that zone and held it, that gave me the confirmation I needed. So we'll take a look at what it looked like on the 1-minute as well, because there was one candle on the 1-minute that really sold me. The candle that really sold me here was this one. Look at the volume, big spike in volume, and look at this candle. So like I said, the first time we came into this area, we got a pretty big reaction out of it, moving, you could say 40 to, about a 60-cent move or so. I think this spike here is a bit of an anomaly, so disregard that. But you can see that price bounced out of this area. And while we struggled to make a higher high, what we did have was a higher low. And then we came down and we didn't break the low a day. So we came down, formed a pretty bullish candle in terms of having that long wick that came down into that area and got pushed up. on high volume, testing this area that we bounced from earlier. So after this candle printed on the 1 minute, that was my indication to get in calls here. And I got one call on this candle as we came down into this area, and I got a second call on this one, and that was averaging into my position. I wanted to take 2 contracts. I took one, we started to push up. Had we just ripped from there, I would have only had 1 contract and that would have been fine. But ideally I was looking to have a position size of 2 contracts. So when we pulled back into this area, I grabbed another contract here. So my first take profit was right at this level. Ooh, there we go. And we can understand why, right? We had a lower high here when we had this sell-off, so we tried to push up, sold off here, came up, rejected here, came up, rejected here, came up into this area, and as we were pushing into this area, I took 1 contract off. My next contract I took off as soon as we touched this zone here. So that for me was a pretty textbook trade. My take profit for my initial position was right here where we had rejected 3 times previously on the 1 minute chart. Like I said, we were kind of weak on the day. It did appear that we were putting in a double bottom here and that we had room to run to the upside. But we had the EMA in this area, and then we had previous rejections in this area, so I trimmed 1 contract here. Trimmed the next once we hit this zone, and that was exactly, it kind of played out exactly as I wanted it to. So not all trades are that nice. This one was pretty nice. Where was my stop? My stop was a break below this wick. So I got in here, you know, I'm risking maybe 20 cents or so for, you know, 40 cents here to, you know, about $1 when we finally got out up here. Price, I think because I entered on this candle and we did get a bit of a pop, my premium was a little bit higher than I would have liked to have it be, I guess is what I'm trying to say. My entry could have been a little bit better here. Like I said, having sold 1 contract here and 1 contract here, I got like a 23% return, which is not the greatest. Obviously my return on this contract, this final contract, was a bit higher. This first contract was not quite 20%. This contract was somewhere in the range of like 33%, averaged out to about 23%, right? So, like I said, stop below this wick here because we had, well, I suppose I don't want to do that, but we have some wicks in this area that show buyers are there. If we continue to break down, then that would show that we are continuing weakness, and we're making new lows after lower highs. And that double bottom kind of theory or idea wasn't valid anymore. So that's why I would have stopped out there. Why I took profit here, I explained that. Why I took profit here is valid as well. Also, you know, we can see that we held this zone in here on support before this big sell-off. We kind of consolidated in this range before we broke. So I knew that as we got into this area, there was a chance that we would reject. I wasn't necessarily expecting us to make all-time highs or anything. Like I said at the beginning of this video, we were within yesterday, or excuse me, last Friday's high and low. So we were within yesterday's range. Typically, those days become a little bit choppier, and that's pretty evident as you see. You know, there's no real trend on this day, right? A little bit of a downtrend, we pop up, we make a higher high, double top, sell off, pop up, sell off. So you can trade the ranges, which is what I was looking to do. I was just looking to take a trade from this zone to this zone. And that was about $1 move, little under $1 move. And I'm very happy with that. So I'll take that anytime. But that is the one trade that I took on the day. We can take a look at QQQ, or excuse me, on SPY here. And this rejection off the pre-market high was really, really, really clean. And I thought was pretty evident on the 1 minute chart, and you can see why here. Each time we pushed up, even on the 1 minute chart, we couldn't really close strong above that. So lots of wicks up in this area. We kind of sold off, held this zone temporarily, and then pushed up, and you can see kind of volume dying down, long upper wicks not looking very strong. This would have been a great place to enter, and I was debating it but I did not. And then we got a big push out of that. So that was a clean trade on SPY, probably the cleanest one all day. SPY was a bit weaker on the day. It was overall a downtrend, but still a bit of that chop, right? Definitely trades to take, definitely money to be made. But like I said, that rejection off the pre-market high in both SPY and QQQ this morning was pretty clean. So missed that, but we recovered with a trade from a bounce off a zone to the next zone. And you can kind of see similarly, SPY did a similar move later on in the day where it held this bottom, kind of double bottomed, and then pushed up. And that's not as much of a move, about 80 cents or so, but still an 80-cent swing is enough. When you're trading same day expiration, you can make a good percentage off that. So that's all I got for you. That's the one trade that I took today. Happy that we started the week off green. Happy that we came out with a decent win on a more difficult day to trade in terms of price action. And this inside bar today, if we're looking at the daily, so we are actually, I suppose on SPY it is not an inside bar, right? Because we closed below. We closed below, so we'll see if we pull back a bit more on SPY. But on QQQ, we have an inside bar, which sets us up for an opportunity for a potential trade, whether we break to the upside of today's high or to the downside of today's low. So bit of an opportunity there on QQQ, and that's something that I'll be watching as well. That's all I got for you. Thank you for watching. I do trade live Monday through Friday, so I'll be here all week trading live. Stop by if you would like to. We'd love to have you. That's all I got. Have a great day. Peace.